Hey, welcome to the New England Endurance Podcast, where we celebrate the endurance community of New England. I'm Art Trapotsis here along with my co-host Eric Schenker. So today we're going to veer in a little bit different direction than our previous episodes. Our guest today is Pete Conway. He's the founder and head instructor at the Bike Educational Institute for Pirates. Yes, you heard me
you got
correctly.
it. Yeah, that's it.
Pirates. The BEIP is a school that instills safe bike handling skills for adults and children, creating lifelong bike enthusiasts and endurance athletes potentially. And Peter's been teaching cycling and other activities for over 30 years. This guy's a true Renaissance man. He plays music, he rows, he teaches people. I'm sure there's a ton of stuff we're going to find out today. Beyond cycling, he's a family man, wife, 3 daughters. Like I said, music enthusiast, windsurfing aficionado, and advisor to tech startups. Man, welcome, Peter.
Welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, great. Great to have you here. We're really excited to have you on the podcast because this is something new for us. And I do think our audience is going to be really excited to hear about it. You and I were introduced to each other from a living legend that is Terry Cowman. So I just needed to make sure that Terry Cowman's name was mentioned on this podcast. But he's really a fantastic guy and a community builder unto himself on the North Shore. But I'm really glad he put us together. So, Peter.
Yes.
Set the stage for us here. Like, what is the BEIP? Where does the Pirates come into all of this? Why did you start this? I mean, broad strokes, like let's get right into it.
Okay. So we'll start with the pirate because I think that leads into everything. So my nickname is the Pirate.
All right.
And the name of when I started the school, I was...
Is that why you're wearing an eye patch today? I just... and
a fake leg. When I started the school, I was to give kids and adults an opportunity for adventure.
But how did you identify the need here specifically around cycling?
Yeah, it's a good question. I saw a father and a son yelling at each other in a parking lot. And the father was trying to teach the son. And I said, wow, that's a lot of emotion you're bringing to this. It's just something that you're learning. But parents bring... I have this thing that I wrote about is parents have hopes and dreams for their children. That's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is they have fears and nightmares. They bring that to everything they do with their children. Makes it very difficult to teach. So I said, well, all right, is there something I can do here? And I was like, wow, I taught my children how to bike, all 3 of them, in an afternoon, 2 hours. And I just happened to bump into this incredible person who lives in Somerville who runs a bike school. She gave me an opportunity and I started teaching and I love it. And then this organization is more focused on helping kids with special needs. So those special needs are things like autism or ADHD. We're getting into a point now with some of the donations that we've got from bikes from the community. We're able to help people who have more motor function problem, abilities, lacking the ability to really stabilize themselves. We just got a couple bikes. Oh, go ahead.
Are you also getting any adults interested in the program?
Sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So there's 2 parts of my program. The first part of my program with children is to get them functionally biking. That means that they can balance, they can pedal, they can navigate intentionally to where they want to go in a controlled environment. Then the second part, once they get that, and I generally ride with them. The second part is, and where I think the most important part is I get the family involved. And this kind of reinforces part of what I'm trying to do here is to bring intergenerational dynamics back into a family, right? Like
a family group ride?
Yep. My last ride with almost every one of the families is getting the siblings, the parents, the family back all together to ride. And I'm still helping the student, but I'm teaching them how to ride together. And the really cool thing is 9 out of 10 times the parents hadn't been riding in a while and they're psyched to start riding again. I got the idea when I lived in London. I was there in 2015 for the whole year. I lived there just for other work stuff. And I would go down to Hyde Park on the weekends and ride my bike. And I would see 4 generations of family members doing things together, not watching younger kids doing things together, and specifically biking. So you'd see 2 to 3 year old on a balance bike, just kind of wiping himself out. Then the parents are 25, 30, grandparents are 55, 60. And then there's like a 80-year-old person on a bike, and they're all doing it together. So they're all working together to improve the quality of their health, the quality of their lives, and reinforcing that family relationship. And for me, when I saw that, I was like, this is where I need to be. And I came back to the United States, and I would see parents sitting all week doing a job, like computer job. I fell into that same trap for quite a few years. And then they would go and watch their kids at the fields sitting there too, Saturday and Sunday. And I was like, man, I was doing it one time because my daughter plays soccer. And I said to myself, there's an expression which is kids fill the shoes, right? It's you're filling the shoes. And what they see of their parents when they're 45 years old, but the kid is 10, is how to act when they're 45 years old. And they look to their parents at that. And then I believe this, they start making decisions throughout their life that get them, if their parents are sitting on the couch, get them towards the couch. If their family is active and eats well and nutritious, they're going to do more of those things. And so when I created this business, one of the things that I was really trying to do was to get the family involved. And where that comes from is my father was in healthcare his entire life in Boston, ran a couple different hospitals, and he realized that the patients would do better. Their outcomes would be better if they brought the family in and had the family be a part of the care team. So it's not my idea. I took it from someone else, but I'm essentially doing the same thing when it comes to biking, is to get kids and families doing things together.
So if you have a kid that comes into the program, is the program a multi-day or a multi-week or a multi-month program that you run, or how does that work?
No, for Learn to Bike, it's generally 2 or 3 lessons. So
and then they're on their way.
And then they graduate.
Your work is done.
My work is done.
So where does the piece come in where you bring the family in?
The last lesson. So there's 2 parts of the lesson. There's the first part, which is learning how to bike. And then the second part is learning how to bike with people. The second part of that is where you're going to rail trails and you're going to some street work, because it's great to learn how to bike, especially as a parent. You really want to make sure that if your kid's biking, they know how to do that safely, right? So it does a lot of different things having the parents there. One, and it instills confidence in them that their kid can safely bike. They see it happening. And secondly, now they're actually doing stuff together.
Yeah. Is there something, you mentioned kids on the spectrum, autism, ADHD, I think you said dyslexia when we first spoke. What is it about, let's say, those disabilities, right? Or where they may lie on the spectrum that ties to cycling? Is it more difficult in many cases for them to learn to ride a bike? Is it more challenging for the parents to try to teach them to ride a bike? Like how did you identify that, and how are you making a difference in their lives?
Yeah. So,
and I want to make sure I said I'm trying to walk the tightrope of saying it the right way. So forgive me to anybody if I said it the wrong way. It's not intentional, but I'm trying to understand. That seems really, really interesting to me, that where does that tie back to cycling?
Where I think it ties back is what allows kids or adults with autism to be successful. And the experience that I've had over the last couple of years since I've really gotten involved in this is meeting children where they are and not forcing them. So I had this interesting conversation, and I was in the coffee shop, and this woman came in and said, "You're the bike guy." And I go, "Okay." And
Which coffee shop?
It's Zoomies in
Okay,
Topsfield.
Zoomies.
Yeah.
Shout out to Zoomies.
Love Zoomies.
Zoomies is awesome. Yeah.
But it wasn't. I wasn't prepared to being called out as something in a coffee shop. But she said, you spoke to my husband about our son who has autism. Because of your perspective and understanding of that community and what helps them to be successful, we have now changed our entire path of how we parent him. And this was a 15-minute conversation. And really what it broke down to was what makes autistic children successful in sports. And what I've seen is oftentimes there's this idea of forcing children into boxes that don't make sense. And this will come back to cycling, I hope, is the problem that the father was seeing was he was forcing his son. He believed success for his son would be somehow found in being able to do traditional sports.
Baseball, soccer,
Basketball, football, things where children are required to work together. And their success is based on how well they can work together, not how well they can perform the task. And this father thought that his son would be more successful if he got him successful in these sports. And I said, that's not true. What you're doing is you're putting your son into an environment where he can't be successful. And the long-term repercussions of that, the trajectory, is going to be terrible. So what you could do, and what I encourage him to do, is to find teams where kids are part of a team. Because oftentimes with autistic kids, they very much want to connect. It's difficult for them, but they very much want that community. But they can't have that same sort of collaborative output, right? So I said to this father, look at sports like rowing, look at sports like sailing, skiing, things where they can be part of the team, it's social, but they can also very much focus on doing the one thing. And then his father went home and thought about it and talked to his wife, and he's like, every single sport we put him in, where it was an individual achiever, like endurance sports are generally, he excels. And every time I try to force him down this other road, it goes very badly. So how does it get back to cycling again? So cycling, that once I've seen children who, let's say autistic, once they start cycling, they have all the motor function, they can handle it very well, but it becomes very cathartic for them. There's a lot of repetition in it. There's a lot of independence, and they do really well. So I think the thing that I'm trying to do is not necessarily around biking. It's really focused on getting people in the special needs community, kids, pointed at a sport that they can thrive in.
What are some of the positive outcomes that you see from some of these participants?
No, it's a great one. So 3 weeks ago, I had a mother, and she'll know who she is. She's going to listen to this. Reach out to me and say her son had special needs. Had been going to an occupational therapist for 9 months to build his ability to do complex motor function, and said, "Hey, I heard about you through the New Hampshire Autism Society. Could we schedule?" And I said, "Sure." And I was like, "Give me a little bit more." And she's like, "It's been 6 years. We've been trying to learn how to bike. 6 years of failing." So I often mothers show up when they have their kids' medical records and things like that to tell me all about it. It's like, all right, give me a couple minutes. So 6 years, I'm going to work for him with about 15 minutes, and then we'll come back. 15 minutes later, I come over to her, which I do every time. And I say, your son's about to bike for the first time. And she couldn't believe it. She's like, this is 6 years. I go, he's going to start biking. So I don't know how you want to capture this. I'm like, with the phone or whatever you want, but here it comes. She couldn't believe it. And I said, well, it's happening. A couple minutes later, I do the final push. I look at her and I do the final push, and he just bikes away. And the mother started crying, which happens a lot. Father starts crying too. And so that is why I do this is for that moment. And then their next lesson, and these people drove from like sort of central New Hampshire to come and meet me in Topsfield. The second lesson, they brought their own bikes. And I have this video of the whole family biking around. Now, if you go back 7 days, this was an obstacle that was almost impossible for them to overcome. Now they're biking together. But what I thought was fascinating is what changed about the child. So when the first meeting, the child got out, the boy, and his knees were knocking out of fear, terrified. The second time I met him, after learning how to bike, he started giving me a hard time, like in a good way. He was like razzing me. He was like, you know what I mean? And his mother's like, he's been like this all week. His confidence has gone through the roof. It's like a kid I have never met before has suddenly emerged. And I go, that's what happens sometimes when you win. And that's what winning feels like. So then fast forward, the one thing that this mother wanted was was to be able to ride with her son. Big biker. Like a lot of people probably on this. Couldn't make it happen. I got a video of last week of them riding down this rail trail in New Hampshire. And he's out in front just jetting, gone. And his mother's just crying. Because this was such a hard thing for them to overcome as a family. And now it's gone. And that's why I think what makes me so excited to do this.
What is it that is preventing those kids from learning to ride a bike? In your opinion or humble opinion from what you've experienced? Because I'm sort of fascinated by that, why that group and this sport or endeavor is more challenging, but then you found a way to push through that barrier.
Yeah. So it's 15 steps to learning a bike. It's a program. I have it in my head. I could write it down. But if I see the first step happen and then I see the second step happen, I'm pretty sure I can get to the third. And then if I get to the eighth, I know they're biking for the rest of their life. So, and these are subtle things, like if they start to balance and their feet come up and I see their foot flinch because it wants to go up on a pedal. If I see that happen, I go, now it's time. We've gone to step 5. And once I see step 5, if I can get the sixth one, which is the other foot coming up, they're biking. And I use this for hundreds of students.
Kids and adults.
Same thing.
Same process.
Yep. Adults are harder, but yeah.
Adults are harder.
Much harder.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, they don't want to learn. I mean, or sort of like I know they want to learn, but it's old dog, new trick. I don't,
No, it's fear. Fear. With kids, the fear is overt. They're not trying to hide it on you, right? They're just like, I'm scared. Like that kid is knocking his knees and his hands are freezing and all the things. With adults, they've got to the point where they've started to justify when they're not doing this, right? Like they're like, oh yeah, I don't have time to ride a bike or learn how to ride a bike. But really at the end of it is they were always afraid. They had an experience, is one part of it. And a lot of the adults that I teach, especially about 70% are women that come from other countries. So that's really kind of fascinating with my background in international relations, because that's what I did for 25 years is working in different countries, doing different things. And
sorry, so are your adult students often immigrants? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah. And oftentimes they're women, and they oftentimes come from a couple different places. So, for example, I was teaching, for some reason I had this influx of women from Turkey. So the international experience that I have and studying it academically and things like that, I said, what part of Turkey you're from? And they said, the north. And I said, that's everything I need to know, because I know why you're coming at 37 years old to learn how to bike, because you couldn't, because you were a woman. And I know that. So that makes it easier for me. So when they say things to me, I have that sort of empathy and understanding of their situation. Similar to the reasons why I learned how to speak, quite a few languages. It was never about learning the language. It's always about crossing the bridge with someone. And getting back to your point, it's never about the bike. It's always about how quickly I can cross the bridge with someone to make the connection, to build the trust, so they believe that they can do the thing that I'm asking them to do. And it doesn't matter if they're where they are, if they're on a spectrum or age. The quicker I do that, the faster it happens.
So a few years ago, Peter, we started on my team, the Keep It Tight Cycling. I don't know if you've heard of this program we started called the Kit for Kids Bike Day. And we took about 25 inner city kids for one morning, ages 7 to 13 approximately. And they show up with typically one parent. Boston Police is involved. And it blew my mind and all the volunteers involved that you have kids who are 11, 12, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 that have never straddled a bike, number one, let alone ride a bike. And as the morning progresses, and you mentioned trust, and you sort of build trust, and then by the end of the day, literally everyone is so happy. Many folks are in tears. We do it at a track around the English high school in Jamaica Plain. And some of the things you're mentioning right now, really resonated with me because we're in year 4 and we decided to take a break this year. But now as we're talking, I'm like, man, why am I taking a break this year?
So Art, question, could all of you're saying so some of these kids were showing up and they didn't know how, like, not only had they not put their leg over a bike, they didn't know how to ride a bike.
No, they don't know how to ride a bike. They've never owned a bike. I don't know if they have any disabilities or anything, but typically they're lower income. They don't have access to bikes. We provided them. The big reveal at the end of the day is that we've raised enough money so that they can go home with these bikes.
Awesome.
And the follow-up we hear is that, they're riding around their neighborhoods now. They didn't know how to ride a bike that day. And then a few weeks later, they're cruising down various, paths throughout Jamaica Plain and whatnot, Dorchester, Roxbury. And it's an incredible experience. I wish we could do it all the time. You're doing it full time, which is fantastic, and I commend you for that. But it's cool. There's nothing better than making a kid happy, seeing the look on his face and the confidence he builds once he pedals a few pedal strokes.
Oh yeah, and it's permanent. It's not, which is one of the things I think we suffer from in society now, is everything is like bombastic and kind of.
And by the way, it's challenging to teach, let's say, a 12 or 13-year-old kid who might be, close to 5'10" or 6 feet. Like, that's hard to teach somebody that as that size, because you're literally holding onto their seat, helping them as they're going along, and there's a challenge there. So it's a big workout too.
Yeah. Well,
did you run into that?
I do. Well, I teach kind of all age capabilities, sizes, whatever it is, that I've seen it all. And I think the biggest thing when you get to that age is actually they're self-conscious. Yes. That's the thing you're fighting. It's not the balance, because they most of them can do some extraordinary things physically. It's the battle you're in is, I should have learned. I'm aware that I don't know how to do this, and kids that are 5 can, and I'm 15. So I've worked through that a lot as well.
Looking ahead, Peter, what's your vision? Fast forward 5 years from now, where do you see this? Do you see many pirate fleets out there, or?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's pretty serendipitous too that this happened today and where I was yesterday. So there's a couple areas in Topsfield on the North Shore that I really wanted to connect with those institutions and talk to them about what I could offer. One of them was the Tri-Town Council that offers programs to kids. And we're piloting a program for the summer. So we're going to get kids biking, and it could be really interesting. I'm working through a couple ideas, but this is kids that are now going to get to go out for 3 hours biking up and down rail trails. They're going to start learning, some other kind of cool stuff. One of them is, I want them to bike to a place, do a challenge together as a team. So they have to figure something out together, get back on their bike and go to the next one.
You know what we're going to say? Yeah. You know what we learned about yesterday, and the podcast isn't even out yet? Bike bingo.
That's a great idea.
Right? So you got a were you going to say the same thing? Yeah. We were both just like eyes lit up when we were talking to each other. Bike bingo, right? They go out with a bingo card and they need to, get the bingo card, something like that on that adventure. We both got really excited about that when we recorded a previous podcast.
It's a great idea. And it also, sometimes it's hot and sometimes it's tough getting kids out there. So sometimes you just got to kind of hack your way through it with some other, like, hey, don't look at all this physical activity you're doing. Like, check out the bingo. But
I feel like there's a great need for your service just with various, schools, elementary schools, summer programs, like you mentioned. Like, the sky's the limit.
Oh,
there's
sure.
a need for this.
And then on the other side of that is, and this is the vision, but this vision is happening this summer. So I'm moving pretty quick, but I think it's because the need is there and the community is responding positively to this. Is I met with the Topsfield, the director for the Topsfield Council on Aging. And so yesterday she was able to demo. I got an incredible donation from some very nice people of a recumbent bike, a very nice recumbent bike, which allows me to do on the special needs side. It was incredible because it allows me now to teach kids and adults who have actual stability problems how to bike. And it's a transition path for that. So that's fantastic. But what it really does is it allows me to get senior citizens now involved in biking. With a recumbent bike, the trike, 2 wheels on the front, it's incredibly stable, serves as a seat, very exciting. So what we're doing next week is we're actually meeting the community of senior citizens in Topsfield for it's a Mother's Day event. And some people are volunteered that are senior citizens to demo this bike. And then we're starting to put a program together for that. And
that's fantastic.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, I know I'm at an age now, I'm 51, where I think up and down now. How are my parents doing? How are my kids doing? And I'm trying to balance those day to day, right? And one of the things, my wife is a nurse and she works for a long-term care facility. So she is right in the weeds with the needs of senior citizens. And with the way I think of it is how long can we keep senior citizens engaged, independent, and healthy, right? What can I do? Mm-hmm. And I could do bike, right? So I started finding bikes that can do that and started meeting the people. And then on the other side is the kids, is thinking about the trajectory change of their life by learning how to, someone caring at the beginning to teach them how to do this like really great skill that's hard to find now.
You just brought up a memory I had from last year's Kit for Kids Bike Day event. We had a few spare bikes, and some of the parents that showed up, and even some of the grandparents throughout the course of the morning were like, hey, could I, while you're teaching my son or grandson or grandchild, could I step over this bike and take it around, the track? And all of a sudden you have like 3 or 4 grandparents going around the track with this huge smile on their face. Like, I haven't ridden a bike in years. It's like incredible. So
joy.
Yeah.
I think about health span, right? Like, so that's sort of a catchphrase that I've really enjoyed. I'll give Jeff Bezos the credit. That's where I learned it from. But really it's about not just the longevity or the lifespan, but the health span, right? Like, can we be active longer? Can we enjoy these activities and that independence longer? That's what I'm personally very much focused on. And it sounds like you're helping people with that health span, right? Like You're helping kids from as young as they are to learn how to ride a bike and getting senior citizens re-engaged in those activities.
And adults
pretty
in the
awesome.
middle.
Yeah.
I sat on the board of this company that's in Boston here called The Durations. It was called Generation Inc. And it was a fantastic program, which is kind of where it probably started this for me. They paired senior citizens who had retired with children who in the inner city who need additional tutoring. And the benefit to the children was immediate. Extra support, literacy levels go up, and it's really successful. But what I found really fascinating is they followed they followed these senior citizens over 10 years. I believe the report was 10 years. And after, say, 6 months or so with doing this, medication, the amount of pain medication they needed to take had gone way down. Like their cognitive abilities had gone way up compared to where before they were in this program. And I was like, well, I'm not going to do that, but can I do that on a bike? And that's what I'm doing. And I hope to.
Is there anything else you'd like to mention to our audience today or plug for our millions of listeners?
We're going to tag the Pirate Institute. Like we'll get them out there, but are there any other things you're working on that you'd love to share with our audience?
Yeah, I think one of the...
Or needs for the Institute.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest reasons why I was so excited to do this is a lot of the experience that I have with parents who maybe have kids that have special needs or not, is that they get to a point where they kind of give up on having their kids bike. They want to, they would love to, they tried and it just hasn't worked. And just to kind of let them know that this like a resource out there that can help them. There's a couple. There's one in Boston, which is great. It's a bike riding school, and that's in Somerville. Great school. And also for people in the North Shore in New Hampshire, which I get a lot of people coming from. We're there to help, and we have good success, and we'd love the opportunity to try.
Oh, that's great. So last question, and you have, to be clear, you have not listened to any of our podcasts yet. Is that, I mean, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but it sort of ties into this last question.
I have listened, but I don't know what your last question is.
Oh, okay. All right. So last question. Peter, you've lived and traveled all around the world, so you should have a good perspective here. Tell me why you agree that New England is the greatest region of the country for the endurance sports community.
Oh, all right. So this is my opinion. We have the toughest people.
Oh, hell yeah.
So if you want to train, you want to train with tough people. You come to New England, you'll find them.
In the rain and the snow and the sleet.
Snow, the rain, whatever it is.
Now I feel bad. I was complaining about the weather
Such a wimp.
at the beginning of this podcast. But that's a great answer. And I think anybody from New England is like pumping their fist right now, saying that's right. You're damn right. You're damn right. We're tough.
The toughest.
That was awesome. Peter Conway, it was great to meet you today, and thanks for coming on the New England Endurance Podcast and sharing your story. Do you have an Instagram page or a Facebook page?
We do. Not Instagram because I'm over 50 and don't know what to do with that, or Twitter. But we do have a Facebook page. It's the Bike Education Institute for Pirates. BEIP.fun is the website. Check it out. We'd love to talk to you.
Excellent. It sounds like you're running a fantastic program, and wish you the best of luck in all your endeavors and helping all the kids and adults out there learn how to ride bikes and build confidence. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And hopefully in a year's time, I can come back and tell you where we are then.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be great. And definitely want to say thanks to all the sponsors that help power this podcast. We've got Lark Fine Foods, a 100% woman-owned specialty food company baking delicious small batch cookies. I also know for a fact pirates love cookies. That's everybody knows that.
Are we hooking them up with some cookies?
We are hooking you up with some cookies. We're going to give you a gift box here full of cookies that you can choose to share with the little pirates or not. We mentioned the book. You are going to get a copy of The Everyday Athlete, a book about balancing work, family, and fitness, written by my co-host, Art. And also a new sponsor, Kinetic. Experience the brain-boosting benefits of ketones on demand that taste great, and you can find them at drinkkinetic.com. For those that want to learn more about the Bike Education Institute for Pirates, visit beip.fun. I didn't know there was a .fun.
.fun, baby.
I love that. And we'll tag as much as we can on our Instagram page, which is at New England Endurance.
Awesome. And until next time, get out there, rain or shine. Don't be a wimp. Drop some hammers.
You talking to me?
And explore the beautiful terrain of New England. Thank you.